overthinking can be bad for you. It can produce more stress in your life. It can lead to rumination, and it can be very distracting. It can prevent you from living your daily life and accomplishing the tasks that you need to accomplish and concentrating on your things that you need to concentrate on. So overthinking can become a problem very quickly. That in itself is a good reason to put a lid on it before it gets out of hand. So what do? Well, first you have to pay attention to your thoughts. When you catch yourself overthinking, thinking about something over and over again, and this is negative thoughts for the most part, things that are unpleasant, a situation or an exchange or something that happened, something that's bothering you. It's different when we might be overthinking out of excitement, like a kid the night before Christmas or before your birthday, and you don't know what you're getting, but you're full of ideas and excitement and you can't sit still or sleep. That's different. What we're talking about here is overthinking in a negative manner. So things that can really prevent you from leading a normal, productive life, from being able to concentrate, from not getting into that state of rumination, which can be quite counterproductive to the point of being destructive. So we want to stop overthinking before it gets to that point. So what kind of things can you do to help you to stop overthinking? Well, like I already said, first things first, you have to identify it. So you have to pay attention to your thoughts. If you're unaware that you are caught in a cycle of overthinking without it's stopping, it's just going and going and going, and of course you're getting nowhere with it, and maybe things are just getting worse in your thoughts and escalating needlessly in your thoughts, making things worse for you. You have to be aware of that. So first things first, pay attention to your thoughts. Once you are able to identify that you may be overthinking something, it's up to you to make the decision to make a stop, to change it by putting a stop to it. And a good way of changing that is to distract yourself. One good way of being distracted is exercise. And you will hear me say this over and over again. Why? Because exercise is such an excellent remedy for so many different things. So when you engage in a high intensity exercise or an exercise that maybe isn't necessarily high intensity but still requires a lot of your attention, you don't have the time or the thought power to focus on overthinking because you need to pay attention to what you're doing. You need to pay attention to your exercise routine. You don't want to do something where you misstep or hurt yourself or fall. So you have to pay attention. So this is especially true when you're doing high intensity exercises or any kind of exercises that require your attention. So think about being in some kind of exercise class where you may have to learn a routine of moves, consecutive moves from one to the next to the next. Well, that requires some thought on your part, and whether that class in itself is intense or not, you have to pay attention to what you're doing. So that could be something like running or a high intensity aerobic class, or something like yoga where you don't think of it as high intensity necessarily. That's not to say that it's easy, but it's something that you have to pay attention to because you have to follow instructions, you have to move in certain ways. It's not a time where your mind can wander off, not for very long anyway. So in order for you to keep up, you have to keep paying attention. So exercise is an excellent way of getting yourself away from overthinking, which can potentially turn into rumination. Another good suggestion is engaging with people or pets, someone or multiple someones whose company you enjoy, whether you get together with friends or family or coworkers, or you play with your children or your pets, whatever the case may be. Getting yourself involved with others, especially when you enjoy their company, is a great way of getting your mind unstuck from that state of overthinking. Some of you may choose to play video games. Those require your attention, because if you're not paying attention to what you're doing while playing a video game, it doesn't matter what video game, you won't last very long. So playing video games is a good way of focusing your mind away from overthinking and onto a different task, one that's hopefully enjoyable. Like maybe for you, it could be playing video games. Music is another great option, especially if it's upbeat music that makes you happy and makes you want to sing and or dance. So music can always be a great distraction. Now, be mindful of music that can make you feel sad or melancholy, and maybe even reflect whatever you're overthinking on. So don't listen to music that is sad or would get you even more stuck in that cycle of overthinking, but instead choose music that you find to be fun and upbeat and beautiful, but not sad. Some of you may be able to get out of that state of overthinking by reading an engaging book, or maybe by watching an engaging show or a movie. Whatever it is that is engaging enough to get your mind refocused. Because if you're watching something that is not so engaging, or if you're reading a book or a story that is not engaging enough, you can look like you're reading or watching a movie, but your mind is somewhere else. And where is that somewhere else? That somewhere else is you overthinking. You're stuck in that cycle. So make sure that if you opt for the TV or a book, that those are engaging enough where they're more powerful in terms of keeping your mind's attention than whatever you were overthinking on. You can do something as simple as housework, or maybe enjoy whatever your hobby is. If you can get yourself into a state of flow, you won't be stuck in overthinking. In order to be in flow, you're not paying attention to anything else. Oftentimes, people who experience the state of flow describe that state as something where they lose sense of time, they lose the sense of the world beyond whatever it is that they're doing. So getting into a state of flow is a good way of getting out of overthinking. So if you know what kind of activities get you into flow, I encourage you to try those out. If you know that getting engaged with your hobby, or even something like housework, will keep your focus on what you're doing, those are good options as well. Another good option is to engage your mind on some kind of mental exercise or problem solving. So maybe for you, that's a word puzzle or a Sudoku puzzle, or maybe one of the countless apps that you can find for your phone that are intended to exercise your mind, to engage your mind, to get you to problem solve or think strategically. So those are always a good way of getting your mind to get out of that cycle of overthinking and into a different state. As you can see, there are so many different ways in which you can help your mind to free itself from the vicious cycle of overthinking. Whatever works for you, give a few things a try. Maybe you come up with some things that were not listed here, something of your own. Try it out. If it works, great. If it doesn't, don't worry about it. Try something else. As with anything else, time and effort is what it takes to go from not being so good at something to being good at something. I always tell you that. So don't give up right away. Don't get frustrated. Try things. And if you think something has potential, but you just have to practice a little more, that's okay too. Remember that the first time you may try to break that cycle of overthinking, you may find yourself right back at it, but that's okay. That could just mean that you need more practice, or that you need to try another activity to get you out of that cycle and to keep you out of that cycle. So don't be discouraged. Keep trying and keep working at it, because being stuck in a state of overthinking isn't any fun. It prevents you from being productive. It prevents you from just leading a normal life. It prevents you from being able to concentrate or accomplish tasks, and it can lead to rumination. And nobody needs to experience that. That's not fun for anybody. So I encourage you to monitor your thoughts. When you catch yourself in a cycle of overthinking, engage in an activity that will help you to break out of that cycle and keep you out of that cycle. So the only thing you have to do is pay attention to your thoughts, decide to make a change, and try. Keep working at it until you get good at it.